What's up, everybody? David Yakir here for iHeartRadio's Yak About, a boomer's GPS guide to life. So if you're familiar with the years 46 to 64, then this is the place you want to be. So put your headphones on, go for a run, and listen as we yak about. Hey, David Yakir here for Yak About, helping you be better, healthier, and more informed than any generation that came before. We are back home, broadcasting from Vero Beach, the heart of Florida's Treasure Coast. If you're new here and listening to one of the 20 podcasting systems that carry us, consider subscribing. And if you are listening to us via radio, put it on your calendar and set it for iHeartRadio's waxy 107.9 FM, 1370 AM, or Real Radio's 101.7. All right. We are getting a lot of feedback on the type of interviews or subject matter that you'd like us to cover. So I ask you to keep them coming in. It helps me understand the issues that are important to you. So write me at yakabout@gmail.com. And remember, we can be found on iHeartRadio.com and the yakirgroup.com websites and almost all the podcasting sites out there. Okay, so let me see what we have here. Okay, so I am back here at the studio, and I have been away from Sally for so long now that
I know.
It's so hard to remember.
Bell back. Hi.
Right. So, how was your summer?
It was nonstop adventure. We had a wonderful time, and yet I'm still scratching my head. I can't believe that it's this far along in the year, and that here we are. Once you get to September, it's rapid fire from, the fall comes and everything starts happening, and then the year's over again.
That's right. And the Labor Day. And, I meant to ask you, how's Lily doing in her auditions?
She's doing great. She's been singing with the Theater Guild at Guild on the Go and really enjoying that, visiting some nursing homes. And she's taking her singing lessons from our mutual pal, Tanya Ortega-Cowan, who is a wonderful, wonderful vocal coach. And so everything's really wonderful there on that front.
We will be seeing Tanya, I think, a little later.
Fun.
Oh, that's great. And by the way, those latest pictures you've posted on Facebook of Lily, she's all grown up.
Look at her. I know. It happened overnight.
It's great. All right. Before we begin, remember that this show is sponsored in part by New Vision Eye Center. So go see Dr. Minotti, Meyer, Reinauer, Tate, O'Brien, and the rest of that great team, because Sally and I wouldn't trust our eyes to anyone else.
I wouldn't tell anybody but you, but I am going in to have my eyelids looked at with Dr. O'Brien. I have an appointment, so
all right.
I'm excited about that. I mean, they just get kind of too big.
Well, you can't be going
They need to be trimmed up.
That's right. Well, you can't be going to anybody better. They're the best in the business.
But, Dave, it's our secret. We won't tell anybody, right?
That's right.
Okay,
and make sure nobody hears this. Okay. Right? Okay, and for the wiser and more mature of us, coming in the fall is the new food service brought to you by the Bills. Chef Bill McDevitt and Bill Brown, owner of the Patio Seafood Restaurant, and it's called Inspired Foods for You. And what they are is delicious home-cooked meals cooked for you and delivered right to you. And all you have to do is sign up for a meal plan, and it will be like having your own private chef in your kitchen. And if you want more information about this, you just call 772-217-5462. And we'll tell you everything about it.
And I'm looking over the Inspired Foods for You menu here, and it is just, it would be hard to select on the 3 meals per week plan which ones, because they all sound fabulous.
Yeah. I can't wait. They're starting up in the next couple of weeks. So give a call. I'll give you that number again, 772-217-5462. And before I introduce my guest, I just need one little yak about tech moment. If you are the lucky owner of the new Samsung Galaxy Note 7, it's one of the most great reviewed phones out there, Samsung is recalling all of them universally.
I was going to say, is that the one that's catching on fire?
Yes. The batteries seem to be exploding, and it's really a pity. This is really a work of art, this phone. It's one of the great phones out there. Okay, so we have an extraordinary guest. Right here in the studio, sitting in front of me, is Ralph Fuccillo. He is the president of the Dentaquest Foundation, and wait for it, he is this year's recipient of the Albert Schweitzer Prize for Humanitarianism. This award recognizes an individual whose life example has significantly mitigated the social determinants of health in the U.S. and or abroad, and whose commitment to service influences and inspires others. I want to welcome, by the way, before I welcome him here and say, welcome, Ralph.
Thank you.
Here are some of the other recipients, in case you're interested, to tell you how inspiring and how fantastic this award is. Desmond Tutu, President Jimmy Carter, Norman Cousins, C. Everett Koop, and the list goes on and on and on. And I want to welcome you, Ralph, and just to tell everybody, he also happens to be one of my great friends. So I'm really proud of him and what he's accomplished, and I'm proud to call him my friend. You are in the company of some amazing people, Ralph. How does it feel?
Well, I couldn't be more humbled. I think, that when, just as you say those names, David, I'm amazed that my name is going to be included among them, but I'm very grateful to the Albert Schweitzer Fellowship program who selected me for this year, and I have a lot to live up to.
Well, I'm going to embarrass you a little further. So let me tell the listeners why you are getting this award. Ralph is being honored for his role as a leader in public health. And early in his career, he worked with vulnerable people as a substance abuse counselor. He later provided extraordinary leadership, both locally and nationally, in combating AIDS. Today, he is bringing national attention to the need to improve oral health of all and the depth and range of Ralph's leadership and service through his work with organizations like Dentaquest, Harvard Pilgrim Health Care Foundation, and the Medical Foundation encompasses the essence of the Albert Schweitzer and the goals of the Albert Schweitzer Fellowship. That's quite an achievement in your life. I've known this for a very long time because we've been friends for a long time. Sure. But the fact that you're recognized for things that we already knew is really something. So let's start here. Let's start about your role in Dentaquest. Why don't you say what the Dentaquest Foundation is? Sure. You're the president of the foundation. What's its mission? What's its goals?
Sure. Well, Dentaquest is an oral health organization. I say that, and many people in Florida and other places will know Dentaquest as a dental benefits company. Sometimes people have the coverage through the dental coverage through Dentaquest. And we've been focused on some of the problems connected to dental health. We expanded it to, say, oral health, because sometimes people think the mouth is just about going to the dentist, but it's actually about a whole lot more. One of the things that we learn as we go into oral health is that this is a problem for people in all walks of life, but especially for the poor folks who find dental care very expensive, which is probably a lot of us. And the other part of it is that we always want to find new ways, if we can, to prevent dental disease in children. So we have a Dentaquest for your dental coverage. We have a Dentaquest Foundation that works with the poor and underserved populations across the country, actually. And then we have a Dentaquest Institute that's constantly looking for new ways to treat and actually prevent dental disease.
Right. We have the population that listens to us is what we call the wiser and more mature population. And what I really want to do, and this is a discussion we have and I found fascinating, I remember, I think, when you give your lectures and speeches all over
Sure.
the country, you sort of ask, or people ask you, why isn't the mouth part of the
Right.
of the body?
Yeah.
When did they separate out the mouth?
Right.
And I never really had thought about it before, but the idea that you get health insurance and your whole body is taken care of, actually, except for the mouth, and maybe seeing, your vision, that type of thing. Medically, your vision's taken care of, but just seeing is not. But the mouth really is shocking when you think about it, that they separated that out. And if you'll do me a favor, we're going to go to a break. And after the break, come back, and it's a really fascinating story of how dentistry actually came out of the medical profession and separated. And it's sort of an interesting story I think people would be interested in.
Sure.
All right, we're going to take a break. I'm David Yeck here. You're listening to Yak About. And we are back. I'm here with my guest, Ralph Fuccillo, and of course, Sally and I are so thrilled to actually be sitting in your presence at this point.
It's true. It's true. It's very impressive.
You. Great to be with you both.
So before we left for break, we were talking about, this sort of how the mouth got separated from the rest of the body when it came to health insurance. And you really have an interesting story about how it happened.
Well, you put that very nicely, David. The mouth is often seen as separate from the body, and some of us are not sure why. But, a dental college, the first dental college was in Baltimore, Maryland. And before that, there'd been a dental school in Ohio, and that probably started in 1828. Now, as we talk about these more, I'll mention them as more recent events in history. I mean, people were drilling teeth back in the earlier centuries. I mean, this is not something brand new, but the idea of American medicine, and you're thinking about these oral surgeons who basically, the way I hear it from some of my dental historians, walk down the street in Baltimore and open a dental college for dental surgery, for oral surgery, and it's been that way since. So, many of us in the oral health field talk about living for the past 150 years with the separation of the payment system and the care system. You go to a separate location, and now we're seeing it come back together again. But that's probably a point we'll make a little bit later in the show.
Right. So and again back to the original thought here, right? You said something that was also interesting. How it's not, you wouldn't find a doctor. Oh, no, I've got it. I remember the story. Yeah. So you said to me, if all of a sudden you sort of cut your hand or your hand was bleeding, you would do something about it.
Yeah.
Well, but people every day brush their teeth and their mouth bleeds and they just go about their business and they don't think twice about it.
Well, I got that story from Dr. Caswell Evans, who's out at the University of Illinois Chicago as one of the associate deans, also the chair of our foundation board, and terrific public health dentist. And he makes this point so boldly, that if you washed your hands, as you said, and there was blood coming out of any part of them, a fingernail, the inside, the outside, you'd say, gee, I ought to do something about it. But you clean your mouth, and those gums bleed, and you say, well, rinse it out and go to work.
Right.
It's a very different phenomenon.
No, I mean, I think all of us have gone through that. I remember, okay, next time I go to the dentist, I have to say, I'm having gum problems or something.
Well, the point is that there is something going on if your gums are bleeding, and that's one of the things that we point to around how. And I don't mean this to sound academic at all, but what's our levels of oral health literacy? What do we know about oral health as we're growing up, as we're learning about our bodies? It's a very low level. And again, not to sound academic about that, but truly, when you think about what do you really know about our mouths, our gums, our teeth, how do they grow in? We're learning an awful lot that we didn't know before.
Yeah, and what was interesting, again, I'm going back to some of the stories I found really fascinating that you told, is it's also the first place, like, the dentist looks at you and just starts drilling or cutting or something which is not normal you do with the body.
Yeah, well, hopefully not right away, but it is what the dental profession is trained to do, is to really do as much prevention as they can. But most often, when you're going to a dentist and you run into a problem, you're gonna look into what the surgical, we call it a surgical procedure would be, and that's that drilling and filling.
Maybe I just have a very high-quality doctor, but I'm not as freaked out about going to the dentist as I used to be. I think that there's been a huge focus on comfort.
Yes, a lot of focus on comfort, and a lot of focus on what you can do at home to take care of your mouth. So, what I learned, and I'm in our group of listeners here at 64, almost 65 years old. I learned what I knew about oral health from my toothpaste commercials and maybe my mouthwash commercials later on. But, the expression was, look, man,